Hey there, English learners. Today, you'll experience a thrilling journey. As Alyssa and her friends embark on a camping adventure, you'll pick up plenty of useful vocabulary related to hiking and outdoor experiences. To boost your listening skills, follow these 3 steps. First, listen to the story with subtitles. Next, explore useful vocabulary and expressions we highlight. Finally, challenge yourself by listening to the story again without any text. Ready to learn English with us? Let's get started.
I'm Alyssa. Today, I'm going on a camping trip with my friends. You have no idea how excited I am. Right now, we're all standing at the train station with our backpacks, waiting for the train. Everyone's super stoked. Before we leave, we pull out our maps and go over the hiking route together one more time. We've planned to take a more challenging route instead of the usual one. So it's even more important for me to know the route perfectly, because we don't want to get lost. The first part of our hike takes us through the forest. The path is pretty strenuous, with many uphill climbs. In some places, the path is really uneven and rocky. But the stunning beauty of nature makes us forget all about the effort. The sun shines through the treetops and birdsong fills the air. It's as if the forest is giving us a warm welcome. By evening, after 9 hours of hiking, we finally reach a large clearing at the top of a hill. From here, we have a breathtaking view of the valley, where a big river flows. We decide to set up our tents for the night at this enchanting spot. The clearing is so spacious that we can easily build a fire without any worries. Building a fire is a real group experience. Everyone pitches in by gathering wood, preparing the fire pit, or trying to get the fire started. While we have dinner, I watch the dancing flames and feel a deep connection to nature. A friend brought a large pot, and I'm holding it over the flames. We cook a delicious soup in it. We also prepped some skewers of meat, which we're grilling over the fire too. After a day like this, you really work up an appetite. After we have refreshed ourselves, we gather around the campfire to share stories. One friend tells us a really creepy story he came up with himself. As I listened, I felt chills run down my spine. I decided to tell my friends about a travel adventure I once had in Tunisia. While we listened to the stories under the open, starry sky, time seemed to fly by. At midnight, we set off again. We embarked on a night hike, cautiously making our way forward with our flashlights. Suddenly, we heard some strange noises. What could it be? An animal? Our path led uphill to a peak. There, we sat down and gazed at the stars. The sky was so clear that we could see the constellations. I wondered if there were other creatures like us out there in this vast universe. After a night in the tent, we fueled up with a hearty breakfast. Today, we have another long journey ahead of us. We prepared sandwiches and drank warm tea from thermoses. Even though the breakfast was simple, I enjoyed it. The next part of our route took us even deeper into the forest. At times, we weren't sure if we were still on the right path, since there were no signposts for miles around. We didn't encounter a single hiker here either. After another 5 hours of hiking, we finally made it. We arrived at a large river. The water was ice cold since it came from the mountains. But we went for a swim anyway and stayed in the river for half an hour. Swimming in it was a blast. Our next destination was a hill with a view of the valley. Once we reached the hill, I took out my camera. I took photos of my friends and tried to capture some nice shots of the magnificent panorama that spread out before us. We looked for a sheltered, secluded spot and prepared the most delicious picnic you could imagine. It turned out to be a real feast. The vegetables, bread, and juice had never tasted so good. Then we played frisbee. We chased after the flying disc, laughed heartily, and felt completely carefree as we ran around. Suddenly, we realized that we still needed to collect wood for the fire. This time, I went to collect the firewood with my friend, while the others started setting up our tents. We had to walk for a while before we found enough dry wood. Once the boys had set up the tents and the fire was lit, I took out my guitar. We sang one song after another. We had sung so many songs together in the past that we never run out of material. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay awake until midnight that night, so I went to bed earlier. Some friends were still sitting by the fire, and I listened to their voices as I drifted off. I thought to myself, what a gift it is to have such good friends.
Important vocabulary and expressions. A camping trip. A journey where you sleep outside in tents. Examples. We planned a camping trip to the national park for the weekend. Today, I'm going on a camping trip with my friends. To be stoked. To be very excited. I'm stoked about the concert this Saturday. I've been waiting for months. Right now, we're all standing at the train station with our backpacks, waiting for the train. Everyone's super stoked. The hiking route. The path you follow while hiking. The guide showed us the best hiking route to reach the waterfall. Before we leave, we pull out our maps and go over the hiking route together one more time. Uphill climbs. Steep sections where you go up. We had to take breaks, often because of the steep uphill climbs. The path is pretty strenuous, with many uphill climbs. Uneven and rocky, not flat and covered with rocks. The path was uneven and rocky, so we had to watch our step carefully. In some places, the path is really uneven and rocky. The treetops. The highest parts of trees. The birds built their nests high up in the treetops. The sun shines through the treetops, and birdsong fills the air. A clearing, an open area with no trees. The animals often come to this clearing to graze because it's open and safe. By evening, after 9 hours of hiking, we finally reach a large clearing at the top of a hill. A breathtaking view. An extremely beautiful view. The panoramic view from the mountain peak was simply breathtaking. From here, we have a breathtaking view of the valley, where a big river flows. To set up a tent. To put up a tent for sleeping. We set up our tent as soon as we arrived at the campsite. We decide to set up our tents for the night at this enchanting spot. To pitch in. To help out. To finish the project on time, everyone had to pitch in with extra effort. Everyone pitches in by gathering wood, preparing the fire pit, or trying to get the fire started. Skewers of meat. Meat on sticks cooked over a fire. The chef prepared juicy skewers of meat for the barbecue party. We also prepped some skewers of meat, which were grilling over the fire too. To work up an appetite. To become very hungry from activity. Playing soccer in the park really worked up our appetites. After a day like this, you really work up an appetite. Chills run down my spine. A shivery feeling from being scared or excited. The eerie sound in the dark forest gave me chills down my spine. As I listened to this creepy story, I felt chills run down my spine. To see the constellations. To view patterns of stars in the night sky. On a clear night, we could see the constellations like Orion and the Big Dipper. The sky was so clear that we could see the constellations. To fuel up. To eat a good meal to get energy. After the workout, it's important to fuel up with a nutritious meal. After a night in the tent, we fueled up with a hearty breakfast. The thermos. A container that keeps drinks hot or cold. The thermos kept our soup warm throughout the day. We prepared sandwiches and drank warm tea from thermoses. The signpost. A structure with signs that shows directions or information. Without signposts, we had trouble finding our way on the trail. At times, we weren't sure if we were still on the right path, since there were no signposts for miles around. To be a blast. To be a lot of fun. The game night was a blast, and everyone had a great time. Swimming in the lake was a blast. The destination. The place you are going to. The GPS showed us the fastest route to our destination. Our next destination was a hill with a view of the valley. The panorama. A wide, beautiful view. We took a panoramic photo to capture the whole view of the landscape. I took photos of my friends and tried to capture some nice shots of the magnificent panorama that spread out before us. Secluded. Quiet and away from others. Secluded beaches are often the best places to find peace and quiet. We looked for a sheltered, secluded spot and prepared the most delicious picnic you could imagine. To feel completely carefree. To feel relaxed and free of worries. During our vacation, we felt completely carefree and enjoyed every moment. We chased after the flying disc, laughed heartily, and felt completely carefree as we ran around. To light the fire. To start a fire. It took a while to light the fire, but it was worth it for the cozy warmth. Once the boys had set up the tents and the fire was lit, I took out my guitar.
I'm Alyssa. Today, I'm going on a camping trip with my friends. You have no idea how excited I am. Right now, we're all standing at the train station with our backpacks, waiting for the train. Everyone's super stoked. Before we leave, we pull out our maps and go over the hiking route together one more time. We've planned to take a more challenging route instead of the usual one. So it's even more important for me to know the route perfectly, because we don't want to get lost. The first part of our hike takes us through the forest. The path is pretty strenuous, with many uphill climbs. In some places, the path is really uneven and rocky. But the stunning beauty of nature makes us forget all about the effort. The sun shines through the treetops and birdsong fills the air. It's as if the forest is giving us a warm welcome. By evening, after 9 hours of hiking, we finally reach a large clearing at the top of a hill. From here, we have a breathtaking view of the valley, where a big river flows. We decide to set up our tents for the night at this enchanting spot. The clearing is so spacious that we can easily build a fire without any worries. Building a fire is a real group experience. Everyone pitches in by gathering wood, preparing the fire pit, or trying to get the fire started. While we have dinner, I watch the dancing flames and feel a deep connection to nature. A friend brought a large pot, and I'm holding it over the flames. We cook a delicious soup in it. We also prepped some skewers of meat, which we're grilling over the fire too. After a day like this, you really work up an appetite. After we have refreshed ourselves, we gather around the campfire to share stories. One friend tells us a really creepy story he came up with himself. As I listened, I felt chills run down my spine. I decided to tell my friends about a travel adventure I once had in Tunisia. While we listened to the stories under the open, starry sky, time seemed to fly by. At midnight, we set off again. We embarked on a night hike, cautiously making our way forward with our flashlights. Suddenly, we heard some strange noises. What could it be? An animal? Our path led uphill to a peak. There, we sat down and gazed at the stars. The sky was so clear that we could see the constellations. I wondered if there were other creatures like us out there in this vast universe. After a night in the tent, we fueled up with a hearty breakfast. Today, we have another long journey ahead of us. We prepared sandwiches and drank warm tea from thermoses. Even though the breakfast was simple, I enjoyed it. The next part of our route took us even deeper into the forest. At times, we weren't sure if we were still on the right path, since there were no signposts for miles around. We didn't encounter a single hiker here either. After another 5 hours of hiking, we finally made it. We arrived at a large river. The water was ice cold since it came from the mountains. But we went for a swim anyway and stayed in the river for half an hour. Swimming in it was a blast. Our next destination was a hill with a view of the valley. Once we reached the hill, I took out my camera. I took photos of my friends and tried to capture some nice shots of the magnificent panorama that spread out before us. We looked for a sheltered, secluded spot and prepared the most delicious picnic you could imagine. It turned out to be a real feast. The vegetables, bread, and juice had never tasted so good. Then we played frisbee. We chased after the flying disc, laughed heartily, and felt completely carefree as we ran around. Suddenly, we realized that we still needed to collect wood for the fire. This time, I went to collect the firewood with my friend, while the others started setting up our tents. We had to walk for a while before we found enough dry wood. Once the boys had set up the tents and the fire was lit, I took out my guitar. We sang one song after another. We had sung so many songs together in the past that we never run out of material. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay awake until midnight that night, so I went to bed earlier. Some friends were still sitting by the fire, and I listened to their voices as I drifted off. I thought to myself, what a gift it is to have such good friends.